Welcome back. Welcome back, my friends. Welcome back. Welcome back to American Lunchbox Podcast. Wow. Chris, we are back in the house, brother, and I'm feeling good today. Cheers, man. That started off right, brother.
Cheers.
That started off right. Oh, man. Thank you for this, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now, here we go with the disclaimers and all that kind of stuff that we usually do in the beginning. If you're coming back, thank you so much. We love the support. Thank you so much for getting our numbers where they are. We appreciate it. Chris and I often talk about what we can do, so we got some things planned in the future to kind of say thank you for guys for all of our support.
Honestly, I often talk about what George could do.
Basically. Then on top of that, what we're going to do is we want to tell you to hit the like button. I think a couple of episodes ago, we had like 300 likes over on YouTube. Man, that's awesome. But if you're coming for the first time, like I always say, you won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you're looking on iHeart, iTunes, talk.com,
Pandora,
hit the download button. We can really use your help on that end as well.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Now, this is episode 30.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, I haven't been 30 for a long time. You probably have been there a little closer than I have. But 30 years old, man, this is a milestone, brother. I mean, now we're like, bro, we're like, I'm 4 kids in by now, by the way. 4 kids in, 4 beautiful daughters. Yeah. A few mamas. You know what I'm saying? I'm 30. Oh man.
What's a good baby mama to child ratio?
I would say 1 to 1.
Okay.
1 to 1. But in my case, y'all know, it could get kind of crazy in my case. But as long as you love them and you're with them, I always say this, guys. I always say this, and praise God for all my beautiful children and my beautiful daughters. Kids have no idea what or how things happen.
Right.
They don't care about who paying for it. They don't care about how it got here. All they care about is who is in the house right now. Who is present?
Right. Stability.
It's stability.
You come about it in a couple different ways.
Absolutely. And thank God I have always been there for my girls, no matter what. All of them are sisters. They love each other. Shout out to the Battle Girls, by the way. Shout out to Battle Girls, Nika, Amanda, Layla, and Victoria, all end in A. Not on purpose. Not even on purpose, but all end in A.
I know a family who every kid is a J, starting with a J. And the parents too. Yeah. I think the first time might have been a fluke, but then they kept going with it.
That's right. Now, my sister, shout out to Manette, she went with MB. All her kids are MB. It starts with an M, and her last name is a B. So she went that same route as well. Yeah, man. But anyway, all right. So let's talk about what's going on, man. We these people don't want to hear about my life and all that shit. But listen, we called this, by the way. We said this conversation was going to happen before it's happened.
Oh,
so most if you guys have been watching this show, or if you've been listening to the show out there in podcast land, then you know what conversation is going to be about already.
Yeah. Little Nas X getting the breast implants.
Aside from Nas X getting the breast implants, that's trolling. That's Photoshop. Not that one.
I don't know.
Not that one. But you and I know what we're about to talk about. And you know what we're about to talk about. Because we said that this was going to happen anyway. Unfortunately, we have to talk about the Trump acquittal.
Well, it was just President's Day. Did you celebrate President Trump?
Nah.
Are we going to change it to President minus Trump Day? Or
nah.
I guess he might be He might be able to celebrate him twice because he's still in the mix. He lived to fight another day.
He lived to fight another day.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do that.
First president that get impeached or have impeachment ceremonies twice in one presidency. And both, by the way, are a waste of money and time.
Yeah, acquitted. 2 times acquitted.
2 times acquitted. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Now, my issue always is time wasted. The biggest commodity, the most important commodity we have in the human experience is time.
Yeah.
And if we continue to waste time on things like this, then all it does, it shows us how ignorant we are as a people.
Yeah. I saw a funny meme that showed a meteor, and it says this meteor is worth it has some rare minerals. It's worth 70 million times our economy, our world economy. And then someone wrote, if the U.S. got a hold of that, they'd melt it down, send it to the other country, and give everyone $6. And and unfortunately, instead of other countries providing for people, they're forcing to stay home with, I don't know, maybe some reparative pay for the time being. We are impeaching Donald Trump.
We're impeaching Donald Trump. Now, they say that the price tag was $500 million to go through all of this. $500 million.
Yeah.
Now, if you're sitting at home right now and you're wondering.
And that was just for the hairspray.
And that's to keep them orange. $500 million for these proceedings. As you're looking at time, salaries, building, all of what it takes in order to get these proceedings to get. Now, the question is does acquittal mean not guilty, Chris?
Hey, how much do you think the person who faked those photoshops of the Twitter things how much do you think they got paid? Never mind. What was the question?
He digressed. Let's go back to the question. No more Nas X. How do you interpret what Congress did? Is being acquitted equated to being not guilty? Yes or no?
At this point, no, because everyone knew what they were going to do beforehand. Most people didn't know what they were going to do beforehand, and it doesn't really matter because it's just a way to keep Trump in the news and keep him as the villain. So it's just a political. That's the fucked up thing, is that impeachment is just becoming a political thing, just like anything else, and you're playing with someone's future as a political thing at this point, which it's just going to come back around to bite them, because they're just going to, if the Republicans get power, they're just going to impeach everybody, and they're just going to say, hey, check this video from 2 years ago. And so it just becomes about power, and if you have power, beating up on the other guy, and that's not what a republic is supposed to be about, and that's not what a Republican in theory is supposed to be ideally better than a democracy, because you're not supposed to be able to beat up the little guy. Democracies, unfortunately, could be 3 people in the room. We vote to kill the third guy, and then that's what happened to Tim, honestly. No, I'm just joking. That's what happened to Richard. So yeah, democracy could be quite vicious, and the point of a republic is supposed to be that everybody gets a little bit of representation. And unfortunately, right now, you have people that are so locked into their side that it just becomes about power. And that's why these elections keep getting more vicious. And as the executive branch wields more power, everyone understands what a dangerous tool that is. And instead of de-escalating or stripping back the powers of that branch, we've decided to just get dirtier with how we fight for that branch, whether it be left or right.
The branch. Now, there are 3 branches of government here. But when we talk about what happened with Trump at the very end, that was solely, and I'm going to say it, that was solely, I believe, his fault. I believe that he planted the seeds. He was responsible. And ultimately, it was his legacy, his reputation on the line at the end. It had nothing to do with the Republican Party. The Republican Party actually started to separate themselves at the time, right after that whole situation at the Capitol, because they knew that eventually these proceedings were going to happen. Something like this was going to happen with Trump and his legacy. So the question becomes did the Democratic constituents, right, the people who voted them in, did they want this? You see, because
Did they want what?
Did they want an impeachment proceedings? Because that is what the politician is going to say. The politician is going to say, when I go back home to my district, they're saying impeach, impeach, impeach.
Right.
You see? So they're supposedly following.
Yeah.
But see, I don't believe that. See, I believe that people in these positions feel powerful or powerless. And when you question their power, they're going to flex their when you question their power, when you take away their power, and when you talk about what happened at the Capitol and how these people who are upper echelon and these people who are politicians, they felt fear being in a place that they worked, and when they felt like that's taken away what they think is their power.
Oh yeah, we saw the Democrats on the Senate floor and House floor crying about how scared they were, but I don't remember them crying for how scared the business owners were in their districts that got their businesses burned up over the summer. So really what this is about is saying, hey, what Trump did, not only in terms of what he did with potential incitement, but also in terms of an outsider coming to our club, don't any of you out here think you could do this again? Because look, if we could do this to him, a goofy guy who was friends with all sorts of people in the media landscape who you knew for 30 years, if we could fuck with him this bad, if we could turn him into Hitler or whatever, a white supremacist, what can we do to you?
But he is a white supremacist, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, how so?
He's that way because of the fact that he aligned himself with them when he did not denounce that situation when he had the opportunity. He had an opportunity.
He denounced them many times. But.
No, I'm talking about the debates when he decided to tell these people to stand down, that part there.
I think we're talking about the Proud Boys.
He was talking about the Proud Boys.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if that means a white supremacist thing. But it's the thing is everything's being branded as such. So
at that time, it was an opportunity. I'm saying he blew an opportunity.
But since they don't like Trump, anybody who's with him is going to be branded as a white supremacist.
Could be.
So what they're really saying is, do you disavow your supporters? And the one quote he said that always sticks with people is he kept saying, they're not after me, they're after you. And to his base, that's very powerful because that says, you think they hate me, the rich billionaire guy who donated to them and was friends with them ever up until I put an R next to my name? Or you think they hate you, the guy that is religious or doesn't believe or believes is anti-abortion?
Who is they?
They is the people who are coming after Trump. Is that he's saying, look, they really hate you. I'm just in the way.
No,
and it's a powerful statement.
It is a powerful thing, but I don't think it's true. But there have been many Republicans in that office, and we've never seen treatment like this before.
But Republicans and Trumpers are different.
Thank you so much. Again, we go
but
back to
white supremacists and Trumpers are also somewhat different.
Absolutely, but they have one thing in common: Trump. They have one centerpiece, one cornerstone is that they all rally around Trump.
Well, it's because
he allows it because he loves the attention.
Because no one else is speaking to their interests. Because before Trump, their real shared issue is economic despair.
Absolutely, but when Trump came out in the very beginning and said, "I wanted to build a wall and I want to get all of these letting these Muslims come in," Who shot up out of the darkness? Who shot up out of the alleys? Who shot up out of the underbelly of our community? Are these people who, like I had said before, have been waiting for this kind of, and I'm gonna use this term loosely, this kind of Messiah, this kind of person who stands for us, this kind of person who really can say the things that we've been wanting to say that we've been holding back.
Yeah, there is definitely a religious.
Yeah,
I've heard this a few times from a few people, and there's definitely people assigning like a religious thing to Trump that may not exist. Like
in their heads, though, how they see it.
Yeah, I've heard things like he's fighting that Christian fight, or he is a Christian, right? Or he's religious, and it's like, okay, I could accept the Joan of Arc sort of thing, like he's defending Christians,
right?
But I don't think when he's up at 2 a.m. watching Fox, I don't think he prays during the commercial. I think he's probably watching that MyPillow commercial, actually.
Yeah, and I think that people are looking at him because, as we know, unlike Reagan, who was also a star of the television as well.
Yeah.
Reagan was a politician. He had politician chops.
Yeah.
We talk about Reagan, and I don't care what your politics are, but that was a moment in time. We were in a position in our country. We were just coming out of the Cold War. We were doing things that needed a certain kind of president. Now, when you look at this particular gentleman here, and he again, a celebrity, I say to you that he continued to be a celebrity. And I think that this was all entertainment based. People were And listen, and I'll be the first one to say it. And I said this well before this podcast. I said, there are more people now interested now in media. There's more people interested now in politics. There's more people interested now in the process.
Right.
There's more people talking about it because of him. That's the latent effects.
Well, we've also had, it's a couple things. We've had 12 years of superstar celebrity presidents. And now it's a little weird because we have someone who's
a politician
reading off a script. And my concern is that it's, regardless of the left or right spectrum, it's a lot more like W in that W Democrat edition, and that you just don't know who's in charge there at the moment. We'll find out. We don't know right now.
And that's behind the curtain. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about what you're not seeing necessarily in front is what's, is he being a puppet for something behind?
Yeah. Typically when I write my own words or if I knew someone had written words that are right up my alley, I wouldn't get lost while reading them because I'd know how to correct that quickly.
But there are speechwriters. Come on.
Right.
There are people who are getting paid to write speeches. We all know that.
Right.
And depending on how well you are at reading those things, it may come out a little jumbly. Unlike Trump, who refused to read. Yeah. And when he did read, you knew he was reading because it felt uncomfortable.
Well, the difference between Bill Clinton, who was in his prime, and someone who's 80 years old is that someone who's 80 years old can't stay up all day. So at a certain point, he wakes up and looks and says, what's my agenda for the day? What am I reading? He doesn't have that extra 2 hours at night to go over things and think about things because at the end of the day, he's going to get tired.
Did you say he was 80?
He is 80.
He's not 80 years old.
Joe Biden's like 80 years old. He's like 78.
Wait a second. He said like 80.
What? He is like 80 years old.
He's not like 80. He's not 80. Well, he's close to it. Yeah. No, listen, I know he's old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know he's beating down the doors of being a part of a lot of shit that happened way before we were around.
Yeah.
And I know he also has a legacy of seeing things that we had never seen before. The 60s, the 70s, Vietnam. He was around during the Korean War, So I know that he's old. But, is it true that old dogs new tricks?
I guess here's my concern, and I think it's a lot of people's concern, and I think this kind of crosses the left-right thing. We're talking about somewhat of unity between the two sides. Is that, honestly, I'm pretty disappointed in Trump, and honestly, I'm pretty disappointed in some of the stuff with Obama too, because there was a chance, or at least it was offered that there was a chance with these guys to pull back some of the bad stuff we're doing, like being overseas and invading other people's countries and letting our own population be cool with spying and hurting people in other countries. And now we're talking about commissions to do such things in our own country against our own people. Well, we okayed it when it was someone else, so I guess we put that own idea in our head. And I think in the case of Trump, if he was just focused like Reagan was, he could have charmed his enemies instead of trolling them all the time. And in the case of Obama, I don't know what his actual deal was, but both of them were providing a hope and change message, regardless of the flavor of it. And unfortunately, not much changed. I mean, Trump didn't start any new wars, but he didn't get those troops out either. And now that they're there, they'll just up the troop numbers. They'll do it on the down low, and then the news will cover for them. And what will happen is the more poor kids will be continue to sent over there to die in a war that they weren't even born yet when the fucking thing started. So, regardless of how much everyone hates Trump, I thought there was real potential for someone who was an outsider to just pull back and really do a blow to more than just offending Nancy Pelosi, but to actually just be such a radical to say, I don't give a shit, I don't have a future anyway. Let's pull this back. And unfortunately, in that regard, he kind of failed, and I fear that he failed in a way that it'll be harder for someone who's an outsider to ever come in, because we see what these parties have done. When third parties started to game scene, all of a sudden they got disinvited from the debates. Whenever there's a candidate, Democrat or Republican, that comes up that has the hot hand, that's talking about things that are not in line with our security services, all of a sudden they get shut out of debates or advertisements. And what's happening now is you have a mainstream social media platforms that are only allowing stuff on their platform that's essentially approved by security services. And, well, it's not like they would never lie. So I don't know. Sorry to be so bummy and so like downtrodden, but I guess the concern with Biden is, look at the letter I sent. I don't think that anything will ever happen with it, because it's not an agenda that already exists, where you have someone in there who is a pragmatist, who is willing to buck some trends. They could actually do it, but the problem is if they're distracted by trolling or by drinking endless Diet Cokes like my orange man over there, then it's just not going to happen. So you need someone who's real focused and who really is not bought out. And unfortunately, Trump had his own money to get to the dance, but was really unfocused.
Well said, my friend. Well said. Mm-hmm. You know, and just to piggyback on that, he had a real opportunity for change, because he was a changed look in Washington.
Yeah.
And I said this back in episode 5 or 6, before all of the elections. I said these words. I said, stop it, guys. Everything is going to go back to business as usual, politics as usual. You know, no, we're not going to have another opportunity for change. We're going to go back to business as usual. Media is going to go back to business as usual. Politics is going to go back to business as usual. But the difference is now, if we can just hold on to the motivation, hold on to the enthusiasm for politics, hold on to the enthusiasm for keeping people in check, we will get to where we want to go with this administration. We cannot turn off now because it's that way. We have to now put our ears more focused into what they're saying. Make them accountable for all. Remember, the only reason they're there is for policy. We have to look at every policy that they are putting forth and seeing if it's beneficial for the American people. This is what we need to do. We can't just be like, oh, it's not fun anymore. Oh, it's boring now. Oh, I don't see the orange guy. And no.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they understand that people are easily played by their emotions. So what you're going to see, if you look into it, is you're going to see stuff like, oh, we have a new head of the Department of Defense. It's a black gay woman. Are still dropping all those bombs on those people that we don't. Yeah, more than ever. Oh, how much did that cost? More than ever. Oh, but it's good, right? Yeah. So, man, it's just, it's so cheap and easy for them because everyone just looks at headlines. So if the headline looks good, it's a thumbs up.
That's right.
But if we're just still doing the same policies that led to Trump and this animus and all this crazy stuff in the first place, then what's the point? We're just kicking the can down the road.
Well, shout out to that black woman, lesbian, who's going to get that job. But
if it's still a war crime.
But if it's still a war crime.
It's still a war crime.
It's still a war crime. It's
still a multicultural war crime.
It's so now you will use a black pen instead of a blue pen. I mean, but the ink is still on the paper.
Yeah.
The ink is still on the paper. Well, I'm hoping that this conversation is over, that we are now moving forward.
Can I quickly just say my review of the Trump impeachment, second Trump impeachment?
He wants to continue, and we shall laugh.
Okay, so Trump made a big mistake in that he was trying to use the impeachment for narrative until he realized that would be a total fail. So his first lawyer showed up like Louis Tully in Ghostbusters 2. If anyone, I mean, it's a random movie reference, but when he showed up, he said, I don't know if you guys should do this. I'm not really a criminal defense attorney. I mostly do tax law. Your Honor, I understand the blackout was a big problem for everyone. I was in an elevator for 5 hours, stuck the whole time. I had to make the whole time, but, I wouldn't judge the Ghostbusters too bad because one time I was, I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you. And just like Egon, I think everyone said, thank you, Louis. Short but pointless. So I think Trump realized that with the amount of hyperbolic energy coming from the Dem side and with how weak-kneed some of the Republicans are, some Republicans would actually flip. And given the fact that
Some
how
did.
bad the defense is,
Some
yeah, I
did
mean,
flip. Some did
literally
flip.
how bad the defensive, because it's not just about what you believe; it's what you believe your constituents believe based on what you're seeing. And the defense was so poor.
That's it.
And it seemed like someone out of the penny saver, because Trump said, "I want my crazy shit to be said there," and he found the guy that said, "Okay, I'll say it." Well, they got kind of swept that guy away, and they brought in some real heavy hitters, and they did what was pretty effective. They showed complete hypocrisy on the Democrats' part, how their language was the same, how their actions in a lot of cases were worse in terms of bailing people out for rioting and other stuff, and that was all very effective. And it was just video evidence, like, here's what you guys do, and here's what you're accusing me of.
Yeah, I think one of the best parts I liked about it is when they actually called the Democrats out on taking only but a portion of it out of context. And he says, this is what they said that he said. But now let's look at the entire statement.
Yeah.
And I think that spoke volumes as well. Even though I do believe he incited it, based on the strength and power of his words and the emotion of one following people, I understand that you don't have to say much. Brevity is important, but when you say a lot, I think it just gives volume to people because they want to impress. They want to do the will of what you're asking, and whether it be through interpretation or whether it be through just lack of understanding. They did respond.
It was a dangerous cocktail because you had those people that were following, and then you had these random, like you were saying, the people with the ropes, the people who had organized it that might have been disconnected to Trump, but now took that energy and said,
they brought ropes.
But that's the problem. Okay, so that's the thing.
And they brought a noose.
How could it be incitement if it was pre-planned? So wouldn't it be those people that incited that emotional crowd? Like, how could Trump be the inciter if Trump didn't say, hey, I have a rope, go here and climb the rope?
And that's a good
Those
question.
guys were the ones who said to climb the ropes. All Trump did was butter them up.
That's a good question. And here's the answer. They knew that Trump was going to be strong. They knew.
Well, yeah. But
so wait a second.
Yeah,
Everyone
knows that.
Hold on. No. Let me ask you a question.
He's easy.
Let me ask you a question. They were prepared for what Trump was going to do and say. It was already written that he was going to be, this was his last opportunity to speak to his constituent, his people. He asked them to come there, to be in front. They had a stage.
Right,
they had a podium.
None of that's a crime.
Hold on. No, that's not a crime. They had a stage. They had a podium. They had everything out there for him to have his, what they call his last stance. They knew that he had to be as forceful and as what can I say, as convincing as possible. They knew that he was going to say something that was going to get them riled up, and they were prepared. And that's exactly what he did. He fed into, whether he wanted to or not, he fed right into what they needed, the organizers.
Right, but that's just channeling someone else's energy and using it for bad.
That's exactly what he could. He didn't have to do that. He could have come out there and been, you know what, people, we've had a good run. We've done.
Right, dude. He would never have done that.
He could, but of course, and that's why we can plan around his actions. We
exactly,
can say,
and that was a big weakness, is that you knew if you only have one play, it's gonna. Oh, you know what? Speaking of plays, and we were talking about football. This reminds me what Trump did after losing the election. It reminds me of when I was playing John Madden football when I was younger. And what happened was you be in the game competitively, you start losing. Then you start freaking out, you start throwing deep bombs. And instead of maybe coming back at the end and winning by 3 or losing by 3, now all of a sudden the fourth quarter lit up because this video game doesn't matter anyway. And now instead of 20-23, it's like 40.
50, 16.
And at the end, I think he realized, just as a purely survival move at the very end, we're like, okay, I actually have to live to fight another day.
Welcome back. Chris, what's more important, what's going on with you?
Ooh.
What is happening with you? What's going on with you? How was your week this week?
Well, it's kind of geeky. Me and a buddy are talking about learning Linux together. So I've installed Linux on one of my computers.
Okay. Linux as in the operating system?
Yeah. Like I had to do some upgrades. So I put an upgrade to Windows 10-ish, and then on the other one I get Linux.
I didn't know this was coming, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't know this was coming.
The point of it is to say I started looking through some old computer stuff that I just had kept in a pile. You know, you take pictures and then at a certain point, you look back and you see this pile of digital mess.
Oh, I get it.
I started looking back over the course of the last year. I took some pretty interesting photos in and around Venice.
Oh.
And
Venice, we know we like those stories. So sit back, relax. This is going to be probably the best part of the podcast. You know how he steals the fucking show with the Venice story. So just relax.
These are just little quick things I snapped over.
Hold on. Now, if you're listening to this, you're going to have to jump over to the YouTube station and see what was about to happen, because I believe he's going to be pulling something out of the lunchbox. So, my friends, if you're listening to this, we're going to do our best to describe what you're seeing. But please, just jump over to the YouTube station. American Lunchbox Podcast.
Here's from the lunchbox. I'm going to show you.
Oh, thank you.
So you have a good.
Oh,
okay. I'm going to tell you which one is first, and I'm going to tell you where I was and how I shot these.
Okay. All right.
Okay. First one we're going to go with is this guy right here.
Okay. All right.
I'll show this to the audience.
All right.
I don't know how well you could see it. That is a man who is eating a bagel.
Okay.
While also having a conversation with his pet lizard.
Oh.
And the lizard's on top of a mailbox of some sort.
I see. Wow.
And he was fully in conversation with the lizard, and the lizard was engaged somewhat with the conversation.
Okay, now we're going to upload these to the social media site as well, because this lizard has to look like it weighs about 50 pounds.
It was a Komodo dragon, big, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And you're saying this guy is having a conversation?
Yeah, like eating a bagel, casually talking to his lizard.
Okay.
And the lizard is chilling out and looking at him while he talks.
Well, this another Venice classic.
Yeah. This one right here.
What else you got there?
This one right here. So basically, the guy who stayed in the backyard, he's still, thank God, he's still alive. He called.
Oh, yeah. I remember this guy. Yeah. I do. I remember the guy. Yeah. Okay, tell me about him.
So he's nicknamed Popeye.
Okay.
And I think that's what someone started calling him, so he calls himself that. Obviously, it's not a real name. But it's because he kind of looked like Popeye the Sailor Man.
Okay.
Like before he ate the spinach, sort of.
Okay, fair
enough. Actually, like once he got beat up before he ate the spinach.
All right.
So he had written some schizophrenic looking, maybe cracked out looking type of note about don't mess with me, and it was all scribbled all over the place. I think he then wanted to get his message more effective. Mm-hmm. So I believe he had someone write this because it's a little neater, but it was written on a pizza box, and it was a warning, because here's what happens. If you leave, you can't carry all your loot.
That's right.
If you get a good thing and keep it behind a garbage bin or a mailbox, while you're gone looking for other loot when you're homeless.
Did he say loot?
Yeah, like a loot drop. Like you could go to Santa Monica, if the cops don't catch you, you could loot the bins at the hotels
and bring them back.
Come back to Venice.
And
the problem is, when you're gone, someone could steal your loot. So there were a number of times he came back and started screing because he realized
somebody had taken his loot.
Yeah, and they knew his secret.
That's
spots.
fucked up.
So here it is.
Okay.
And I'll show you the picture, but I'm gonna read it first.
Again, we're gonna upload these to the social, but go ahead.
Do you want to read it?
This is Popeye's spot. No sleeping, stealing, or pissing in this spot. Smile. You're being watched. I recorded it. Thanks. Popeye. Popeyes. Wow. And this was a real sign.
Yeah. It was left on the spot. And it's so funny how, that those people are pretty territorial. Absolutely. And they could be hoarders as well. You think,
how can you be a hoarder and be homeless?
I know.
Because you got to carry everything. I guess not really, because it's real estate. They actually have property. I mean, their property value is probably higher than a lot of spaces, because they square footage. It's square footage.
Yeah, and that's why you can't move them, is because that court order, I think it's the Ninth Circuit Court.
Ninth Circuit, yeah, San Francisco.
Yeah, it basically said that if you don't have a place to relocate them or the property, you cannot move the property, because it's essentially stealing property. A lot of this property is looted or collected.
So legally, you can't move them. Physically, you can't move them. But I think that there has been some loopholes in regards to cleanliness that has provided some kind of, or even like there's a lot of homeless that will live on the freeways or by the freeways. And so sometimes they have to do like fire clearances where because of the like what happened in Venice, because of sometimes it being a fire hazard, right? That they are allowed to say, okay, we have to clear this area with the shrubs and stuff like that. So that can be kind of disfranchising for the homeless as well.
No, it is. They sometimes while that happens, they just curse at the cops and everyone while that happens. But if you don't do that, it's like disease level if they don't do it.
Absolutely. Because what they leave behind is what's most important when it comes to the environment. You see, it's something to be homeless, and I get it. And listen, I had my issues with homelessness as well. But the reality is it's the cleanliness of the area and the accessibility for people because you're in a public space. So Chris said, I never forget this. It's like, the kid won't go to the library. I don't know if you remember that statement you made many episodes ago. The kid won't go to the library if there's a crack addict sitting on the porch or right on the stairs right there exposing himself. And that's the reality. It's like, how are people going to move forward on public property if they're not feeling safe, especially young kids?
Yeah. And now we even have some illegal residents on what should be private property, but that's a story for another day.
That's a story for another. That's a hot hostel, by the way.
Big
that's a hot hostel here in Venice.
It's a big pot and it's still brewing. Final story, though, is I want to show you this picture right here.
And I like this. This is beautiful.
You do?
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I hated that picture. Oh, I didn't hate the picture.
Why? It's beautiful.
I don't know why.
Okay, show the people. Show the people.
I grew to not like the picture.
Okay.
And part of it might have been the reason I got the picture. Like, all pieces of artwork have a nice little story behind them.
Yeah, and by the way, this space is beautiful where we are. A lot of art on the wall, and it's very homey.
I could tell you like where I either got it or who I got it from or what the artist's name is or if it was drawn. But this piece of art I got when I went to go pick up something just show the art. I went to go on Craigslist to pick up something else, and this was years ago. And the guy gave me this art for either free or like a couple extra bucks in terms of whatever else I was buying. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was an old bike or something. Mm-hmm. And the reason he did it was he goes, that was my ex-wife's. I can't stand the bitch. Mm-hmm. She's not coming back for it. Mm-hmm. Take this fucking thing off my hands.
Okay. So, understandable. I understand. Speak less. I understand.
Two of these, and they were kind of crooked, bent. Mm-hmm. Oh, I should have showed the picture for last. Okay.
What happened?
I gave away the surprise. Okay, so here's what happened.
Okay.
Finally, I had too much. I had a new art. I had something to replace it with. I think I put the TV up on the wall. I said, I'm getting rid of this damn art.
Okay.
It's broken. It looks a little odd. That's it. I'm done with this.
Now, can we explain the art for those of you all who watch? Can you best describe it for those who are listening in podcast?
It's like a Mexican thing. It's like definitely a Mexican mother in the desert, like holding a child from behind. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It might have been drawn in like some sort of a college art class.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a professional art. Yeah. It's not as professional artist. It looks very earthy in color.
Yeah.
You can tell that it was a composition that maybe was posed for, or at least had some kind of picture that they were mocking or looking from. So.
And it's a little odd looking.
It is a little odd looking because the kid looks a little weird over the shoulder. It's an over the shoulder look, but again, it definitely has a Latin kind of flavor to it. Again, we're going to post these up on the social media so you guys can see it as well. But what was the turning point?
I got so sick of it. I said, it creeps me out. This art creeps me out.
Now, is it because of the ex-wife that creeped you
I think the picture itself got me a little creeped out.
Okay.
And then not only that, the way it came from and the fact that I only had it there because it was cheap at the time and now it's doing a little better. So I wanted to do things my way.
That's it.
I'm done with this.
My way.
The frame is busted. Like I had to pin it down to the wall.
Yeah.
So finally, I just said, I'm getting rid of this. Mm-hmm. Put it in the trash. It goes. About 2 weeks later, walking on the boardwalk, and guess what's for sale? And it's clamped down. You can see the broken frame has been clamped down with some clamps. And sure enough, it was for sale on the boardwalk as like a Venice Beach artwork.
Comes right back to bite you in the ass. Comes right back to bite you in the ass, man.
I couldn't believe I was being haunted by this thing.
Oh, man. What a great story, man. What a great story. Now, Chris has these stories. He lives down in Venice, and we were talking about how Venice, of course, used to be, well, it still is. It's a landmark. It's an iconic place. And I remember as a kid coming to Venice. I grew up in Los Angeles. Venice, it had its reputation for different things, but mostly for visitors, for people who are coming to see the city. And this was the place where they go. So, it was a big deal. If you didn't come to Venice, it's like going to Hollywood.
Yeah.
As a person who's visiting the city, it's just one of those things you did, and I remember even as a vendor, when I was, hustling and doing my thing,
you selling this artwork?
Yeah, no, that wasn't me selling that artwork. I had my own artwork. I'm an artist. So I had my art, and I sold art legally on the opposite side, because it used to be that only artists could be on one side of the boardwalk, and then what would be the paying patrons who own businesses could be on, but you had to be an artist.
Right.
That was the caveat. You just couldn't just post up.
Right.
You had to be an artist.
Yeah, a couple people get around that by having like
two pieces of
manufactured art.
Yeah.
That, like, clearly came from a store, but they posted up
exactly.
Like they're the artist. But
that's right.
Tell.
That's right. But
that's the rule. The rule is it's free to sell here on the boardwalk as long as you are an artist. I believe it's still that way. And
people come for that reason. They want to be. It's just not the guy who wears the white and on the plays the guitar. The guy.
Oh, Harry Carey.
Harry Carey. It's not just Harry Carey. People actually come here for what would be the ambiance, the ecosystem, if you will, of Venice. But it has changed dramatically over the last 5 years, dramatically, because of this law and the homeless. And it's a problem that we eventually have to really solve.
And because of the coronavirus, the tourists aren't here to offset the fringe element.
It's just the locals.
It's just, yeah.
And the locals really have been walking over this so long that they don't even, it's like they're desensitized.
Well, it was almost like anyone who's a gamer out there in Zelda 64, when the sun goes down, the wolves came out of the ground. As soon as the moon came up, they went, ooh, and they started attacking. And that's kind of how it was here. The tourists would be so overwhelming of the fringe element. But once they left, once the sun went down, the fringe element doesn't go away. So then it became their time. But now it's kind of always their time.
Yeah. Well, we're still in the purple zone. We reported back a couple of episodes ago that Gavin Newsom moved us to the purple. We're still in the purple zone. They found some more vaccine, by the way.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they found some more vaccine.
Okay.
So
maybe that lizard was hoarding them.
Say it again?
Maybe that lizard. Maybe they found the lizard.
Oh, yeah, the lizard had something to do with it, probably. But that lizard is huge. Again, we're going to put these pictures on. That lizard is out of control.
Yeah.
But we're definitely moving forward with good news with the vaccine and with the virus itself. The numbers are going down. Come on, Chris. Come on, Chris.
He's just happy that Chappelle show's back.
Come on, man. That's the best news. That's the best news of the episode. That's the best news of the podcast. Hold on, let me get to it. I gotta beef it up. Don't pretend like you didn't hear what he said. So as we move forward into, okay, fine. I'm happy that the Chappelle show, okay, fine. We reported about the Chappelle. Remember, we had this episode. I forget what episode number it was. We did a big thing on the Chappelle, and now we're reporting that Chappelle, because of what it was called, it was called Unforgiven. He did that. He talked about his whole relationship. I was very critical. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was very critical of the way of his approach. I invited him on the American Lunchbox podcast because he needs some kind of vehicle.
It was a good episode, but the recording got deleted.
The recording got deleted.
It was like a lost episode, that one where Dave Chappelle came on the show.
I was going to surprise him and tell him to go download it because we had I was going to tell actually. I was going to tell him that he came to the show. That was what I was going to lead into.
Yeah.
He blew it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to find that episode where Dave actually showed up. And we actually did something. Chris just blew it. But Dave Chappelle has been here. I'm reporting it. He has. What do you have? Okay. Anyway, Dave Chappelle put out a video over the weekend.
He basically Oh, he did put another one.
No. Well, he put the one that reporting that he had, gotten what he had asked for based on how the people responded from him.
It's just that if he has bad memories of the Comedy Central thing, and then the way this streaming stuff works is no one even envisioned this when this all stuff started, and the residuals are kind of questionable with some of the stuff anyway, is that it's like reopening the wound to him. He's telling Netflix, if you want to have a good relationship with me, you got this stuff on there that reminds me of a time I had a bad relationship. And it's very easy for me, Dave Chappelle, to say, hey, I feel like this is now a bad relationship because this is a deal that was done on the side without my knowledge, and we have a deal with each other.
And I'm Dave Chappelle. I'm Dave Chappelle. I'm Dave Chappelle.
Well, that's true. He had the power to. He had the influence to do it. But it's very easy to lose focus on a project when you feel like you don't trust the other person involved in the project. So it's very good to be open with your intentions with other people, especially if it involves you. So even though the people that he probably deals with at Netflix didn't say, "Hey, let's fuck him over," Netflix is a big company, and somewhere said, "Okay, we'll take a run of the Chappelle Show. Yeah, we'll have it streamed for 2 years. Check, and we'll take Married with Children as well." And that's as far as they thought it through. But the visuals for him reopened them bad wounds, and it's a little victory. Not the one he would probably think about if he closed his eyes and dreamed about what he could get from the Chappelle Show, but it's enough to keep him happy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not parading. He's not parading the victory in a way that he's even revealing what the deal is. Because I'm thinking that Netflix bought the rights to it. I'm thinking that Netflix went out.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm thinking something
they threw
big.
Him a little bit of money.
No, I'm thinking it's bigger than that.
Okay.
I'm thinking Netflix went to Comedy Central and said, "What can we do?" and bought. And Chris and we're debating this because Chris thinks that there are not going to be any new episodes. But I really believe that there. I know that
that's interesting that you bring it. I just thought I got a little hyped when I saw the headline you sent me because I thought it meant a new reboot. But I don't know. The wording doesn't say that.
But I believe that don't quote me on this, but I believe that Netflix bought the rights.
Oh, I hope that would be cool.
And then, of course, now Netflix and Chappelle figure out how to work the other magic.
Right. Yeah.
And then exclusively put the Chappelle Show on Netflix.
That would be great if that comes true.
Episodes.
You're a mystic if that one comes true.
I'm just a businessman. I'm thinking about longevity because the reality is that we could use another Chappelle Show.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I said to just erect something else and get rid of that. But if we can get that Chappelle Show along with, in living color, I'm calling back the Wayans.
Hell yeah.
I'm calling back the Wayans.
Hell yeah.
If they can do it, if Chappelle can do it, then call back the reunion. Get the God, I think it's 25 years. I think it's like 30 years.
Yeah. I got super excited too about 2 weeks ago. You saw the headline said, "Oh, do you know how much money Fox paid Ed O'Neill for another season of the Bundys?" And I was like, "Oh my God, the Bundys are back!" And then I looked, and it was like, in 1992, they offered him a sports car to keep the show going. You fucking asshole. So I hope what you're saying is true. I don't want to get my emotions too involved.
Big fan of Married with Children. Big fan of Married with Children. Big fan. Hero status up there with Michael Jordan. But that's another story.
Yeah, it's like those people who died in the Challenger explosion, rest in peace, and then like Al Bundy.
There you go. Rest in peace. God bless the dead. So now,
for that one.
So we got a couple of wins. So we're reporting wins. This is a win episode. Episode 30. It's a win episode. So now, but changing gears here a little bit. Chris is going to be reporting on some news, and I'm just going to be listening because he knows best than I do about this subject because he's been following it with some of our other colleagues.
Over the weekend, I went to a pansexual orgy, and it was quite involved. And here's my story.
We're waiting for the story because I believe him. But no. So tell us about what happened with Gina, and I'm not talking about Gina from Martin.
Yeah, talking about
Damn, Gina. Damn, Gina.
Some people were saying that.
Yeah. So tell us about what happened with Gina.
So Gina Carano, UFC fighter turned action actress, is in The Mandalorian.
And which is a Marvel, Disney story that they've pimped out. I'm sorry, that they've exploited. Oh, hold on, that they have initiated in their origin stories of how. Yeah,
I talked about my reluctance to even watch the show in a couple episodes ago, and part of the reason was that I just don't know sometimes how shows go, and I don't trust Lucasfilm. And I guess I was kind of right to do that. Show, it's probably going to continue. Well, okay, there's a couple of things. It might not continue for a different reason, but that's a side entertainment story. But what happened here is that Gina Carano was fired for what they claimed were anti-Semitic tweets. Now, what did she say? Well, there's a couple things.
Now, remember, we talked about how things are going to be categorized. The minute you say something, you're going to fall into a category now.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people during the Trump administration era, and also just in general in Hollywood, have been hyperbolic with Trump is Hitler and all this stuff, and all the kids in cages.
He is.
So what she was doing was the kids are still in those cages, by the way. But what she was doing is she was showing a meme, with a historical picture that in Nazi Germany there was a couple children chasing was essentially a Jewish woman, beating on her and stripping her of her clothing. And she was saying, it wasn't the Nazis who first came for the Jews, but it was the Nazis who convinced the public to go after, the Jewish population, to hate them. And that the problem is, once you start hating your neighbor, it's not a far step to say that you are fine with them getting hurt. So what she was saying was something in historical context. You could say, it's never good to compare things to the Nazis. Stuff like that did happen in places like that, and in communist Soviet Union. But
and it is a part of our human experience. It is a part of our history as humans.
And the great thing about dark history like that is to understand that you out there and me right here are and we have a dark side, and that is not people who were born to be evil. A lot of those people who became Nazis, they were just regular, like, blue-collar cops in the neighborhood and stuff like that. So the young ones, yes, they were trained, but some of the people became that. And the thing is that you out there have the potential inside of you to be real evil or real good. And it doesn't matter how you were born. It matters what happened while you were alive. And sometimes people could change while they're an adult to be like that. So I think the point she was making is... you could say it's in poor taste, but the point she was making is that, listen, we can't keep treating each other poorly, because it's only a matter of time before then you start treating each other physically poorly, and that's really bad.
So what were the repercussions?
So they fired her. So they canceled her, while not canceling other actors who had said
they fired her.
Somewhat similar.
They fired her from the show.
Yeah.
I mean, like the day after.
Well, yeah, and then what happened is the day after that, this is what they didn't expect. She announced a partnership with the Daily Wire, the conservative outlet, who wants to get into the movie space to challenge the dominance of liberal Hollywood, to not only be in her own movie, but to do it her own way.
Wow.
So
wow.
If Disney says they want a strong, independent woman, I don't know. Maybe not one that speaks her mind. But now that they've thrown someone away, there is now a growing infrastructure of someone who will pick up the thing you didn't value. So your trash is going to become someone else's treasure. And hopefully these studios will start thinking more before they do stuff like this, because you have now sent a draw and a moneymaker to go make money for someone else. That's
right. Now, there was a time when this word, even though I don't use this word very often for obvious reasons, when you were blackballed, that means you were not able to find work. That means you were not able to actually, because the industry now looks at you, but these actions are these kinds of actions where you say, I'm firing you for this because of this.
And it used to be because you were communist that you got
That's blackballed. Right. But now what there being an alternate space for these folks to go to, what they're really doing is, instead of blackballing them, if you will, they're really empowering them. They're really emboldening them to now speak. Yeah. So it's like, there's the old saying, what would we do if we freed them? What would they do if we gave them the same opportunities as we have? What would they do? Would they then turn on us?
Right.
And we'll see in this situation. You see, we'll see how it all pans out. We'll see if she, we see that, you know, we see Brady. We talked about the Brady effect. We said, you know, they decided to get rid of him, and look what he did the next season.
Yeah.
Super Bowl winner. So again, just because we throw out their trash, you don't want us no more, doesn't necessarily mean that we have alternatives in this space if you think differently.
That was her quote. You can't cancel us if we don't let you. And again, I'm not like, oh yeah, conservative movie. No, it's just about having a space in which people who are
conservative movie.
People who are executives of these different places pick the best talent and don't force them to repeat mantra of what dumb shit they believe in. Who cares what you believe in?
And again, what is exactly? It's because we're talking about marching at this point. We don't all march at the same beat. Yeah. We don't all march at the same drum. So I mean, and so what is conservative television? What does that even mean? It's like when they say black actors or black movies or black this. Yeah, it represents the characteristic, but it's still just a movie.
Yeah, and I think what they're doing at this...
We don't say white movies.
Well, yeah, the Daily... Well, real quick on that. Wait, hold on one sec. Okay. So, on that note, they're planning to not make conservative Leave It to Beaver stuff, but they're actually getting into the space where it's R-rated movies because they understand that they have to compete with the cultural stuff because that's powerful downstream. Real quick.
Yes, real quick.
On the black movie thing. I have noticed this when I'm on a streaming platform.
Yes, sir.
If I look at like an action adventure movie,
you'll see more of
them. Then I'll see more action adventure movies.
That's right.
If I look at a drama or a horror movie, I see more drama or horror movies.
That's what they're doing is they're using the algorithms to guess so that you don't have to go searching for something because they don't really want you to search for anything. They want you to choose from what's on the platform.
Now, if I click on a blackface, regardless of what the genre of that movie is,
that's what you're going to see next.
Guess what? I'm no longer looking for the similar genre.
That's right.
It's only, and then sometimes I've gone almost racist with it. I've been like, oh, that's gonna take me to that algorithm.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I love British television personally. Yeah. I like looking at British television, and the minute I click on, and it worries me because I know that my whole shit is about to change, but I want to watch it so bad, right? So sometimes I look on my phone to just try to figure out exactly what I want to watch before I click on the television.
Right.
You know, because I know exactly what you're saying. All of a sudden, your whole dashboard fucking changes to this whole. I was like, bro, I just wanted to watch one movie.
But I guess the point is, does it become is it action, adventure, drama, horror, or black? Then it becomes everything as long as there's a black actor.
As long as there's a lead in there, as long as there's somebody who wrote it.
Yeah.
You know, listen. We're coming to the end. Listen, we got this episode. You can see we're doing our thing. American Lunchbox Podcast, episode 30. 30. We're doing big things. Chris, any last words, quickly? Gotcha. And the immortal words of my father, Clarence Patterson, don't ever let the times change the lines in your smile. See you next time.
Peace.